My 5 top realistic threats you need to prepare for. Let's check it out. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Now you join me today in the garage where I'm packing for an upcoming canoe trip. Now I was going to do this as a campfire talk in a parachute, but it's so windy outside you won't be able to hear what I'm saying. I haven't done many videos lately on account of being a bit busy, but today's video, like I say, it should have been a campfire talk, but we'll do it in the garage, is about my top 5 realistic or more likely threats or disasters you must prepare for. Now I'm not talking about the end of the world eclipse or alien invasions, but more realistic and probable events or disasters you need to prepare for. Yes, we've all seen the recent hype of me about the eclipse. A lot of clickbaiters were promoting this as going to be the end of the world. And where the cross of the eclipses meet, there's going to be a natural disaster or there's going to be some sort of man-made disaster. No, it didn't happen, did it? An eclipse is just a natural, fantastic natural event that happens every 18 months or so somewhere on the planet. Let's move away from all that sort of rubbish and just stick to more realistic disasters or events or threats that you need to prepare for. These are just my top 5. If you've got any other suggestions, anything I might have missed out, please feel free to put it in the comments below. Always happy to read what you've got to say. So yeah, unfortunately no fire tonight. No hot chocolate with the whiskey. Just in the garage, packing for a canoe trip, out of the wind and rain. So let's dive into it. So number 1 on my list of top 5 realistic threats you need to prepare for, and that's natural disasters. From earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, wildfires, flooding, natural disasters can strike anywhere, anytime, can't they? And which of these natural disasters are more likely to affect you will depend on where you live on the globe, isn't it? And some of them will obviously depend on time of year. Now, we've all seen recent earthquakes happening around the world and the devastation it caused. And of course, last year there was wildfires, there's flooding, there's always natural disasters. Now, the more the population increases, the more habitation we produce, the more likelihood you're going to see some sort of natural disaster affecting the civilizations. And natural disasters and weather events are always going to happen, whether we're in the way or not. And if you do live in these areas where are prone to natural disasters, like I say, your flooding, wildfires, your hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, whatever it is, there are certain steps you can take to prepare for such things. Such things like having an emergency kit or a bug-out bag stocked full of items like essential supplies, first aid kits, food, water, shelter. Just something you can grab at a moment's notice if that emergency arises. And together with that is making sure you've got an evacuation plan, so you know exactly what to do and where to go to make sure you and your family are safe. Now, another thing you could do is protect your home against disasters. If there was flooding, make sure you've got sandbags. If there's tornadoes, hurricanes, making sure you've got building supplies where you can shutter up your windows and doors. If you're looking at heavy snowfall, blizzards, and you're going to be shut or cut off for a few days, making sure you've got plenty of supplies at home. So there's numerous different ways you can protect yourself and your home and your family, depending on which natural disaster is more likely in your area. Right, so number 2 on the list is something we've all know about, and that's pandemics. The recent events have shown us how devastating a large outbreak or pandemic can cause. And not just the pandemic itself, but more often than not, the reaction to it. The lockdowns, the restrictions of movement, the loss of freedom, the supply chain problems, the food supply shortages, plus toilet paper riots. All these have a devastating impact on your day-to-day life, don't they? And it's something we've all lived through in the past, and I'm in no doubt we'll live through again. So for any such event, like a pandemic, like I say, we've all had experience of it, it's very wise to have a stockpile of essential supplies like non-perishable foods, water, medications, hygiene products. So when there is another lockdown, you're not going to rush to the shops, shoulder barge, rugby tackle, people just for your extra bit of toilet roll or whatever it is. You've got all the supplies you need at home for a certain amount of time. Right, number 3 on my list then of the most realistic threats to prepare for, and that's cyber attacks. Now, as our society becomes increasingly reliant on technology, the risk of cyber attacks disrupting our critical infrastructure and communication, it grows all the time, doesn't it? And them threats are always there. And it's something you hear about all the time, possible cyber attacks on our infrastructure. And more often than not, everything in our day-to-day lives is now becoming more dependent on this infrastructure, from our energy production to our food supplies. And there are many reasons why these attacks or these cyber attacks are made. From small groups looking for, say, financial gain, all the way up to foreign nations, all looking to use cyber attacks or the threat of cyber attacks to disrupt our infrastructure or ruin our day-to-day lives. So unless you're living off the grid in some remote place like Grizzly Adams, living off dandelion leaves and whatnot, a cyber attack would affect us all. So how could you best protect yourself against such a thing? Well, the first thing you could have is a backup power source. So if the grid went down for a cyber attack, you've got an emergency generator or a solar generator, battery backup system, just to charge any devices. And I'm not talking about your TVs or your Walkmans. I'm talking about head torches or radios. Things you might need in that sort of situation. And another thing to have at home is cash or different forms of payments that don't rely on the internet or your contactless payments in the shops. Now, another thing to think about, say, especially if the internet went down or the mobile networks went down, is forms of communication. Have another way of communicating or coordinating with others without relying on the internet or your cell network or mobile network. And another thing a cyber attack may affect is our supply chains. So you might go down the shops, got plenty of cash to spend, but there's nothing there. So make sure you've got plenty of supplies at home, your medical supplies, your water, your non-perishable food, or even better, have a way of growing your own. Still fits. Right, so number 4 on our list is economic collapse. Now, if you're like me and you follow certain financial experts and world events online, then you know this is an extremely probable event which is heading our way. Plus, it's something which is not new. Economic disasters have happened numerous times before in the past, and it's only a matter of time when it happens again. Empires rise and fall all the time, don't they? And by the looks of things, we're on the brink of a change in the world finances. And to make such a change, whether it's orchestrated or not, is a financial collapse. Without being too cynical, this would be the perfect way to bring in some sort of government-controlled digital currency, wouldn't it? To orchestrate or take advantage of a financial collapse. Problem, reaction, solution, isn't it? And it's not just a money thing. If a financial collapse happens, or when it happens, it can lead to widespread unemployment, inflation, disruption to services, and a worst case scenario, civil unrest. So how do you prepare against it or prepare for it? Well, to prepare for such an event, you could invest in tangible assets, useful items. It could also be precious metals, your golds, silvers. Make sure you've got plenty of supplies in, plenty of food, plenty of water, plenty of medical supplies. You could acquire skills, all of which would not just be needed to survive, but would also be very valuable in a barter economy. Now, if there was civil unrest, make sure you have a plan for securing your supplies, securing your food, your water, and securing your home. In a worst case scenario, you couldn't secure your location, make sure you have a bug out plan, because when traditional systems fail, people become desperate. They'll tend to do desperate things. Right, so we've had natural disasters, we've had pandemics, we've had cyber attacks, we've had economic collapse. What is top of the shop of our top 5 probable or more likely realistic events to prepare for? Well, that is war.
Yeah. What it is a good for? Absolutely nothing.
Now, this wouldn't normally make the list, but as the world is at the moment, it's an ongoing subject, isn't it? Not just in Europe, but in the Middle East, and I'm sure there's other wars going on around the world. And while the likelihood of war can vary greatly depending on factors such as international relations, World War III is now closer than ever before, and it seems like a conflict between the West and Russia is almost unavoidable. But as we've seen in other parts of the world, wars are a constant threat, aren't they? Historical conflicts, regional tensions. It's not uncommon for war to break out somewhere at any time. And as we've seen in previous prolonged conflicts, it causes major disruption to our supply chains and pushes the price of everything up, doesn't it? You know, your fuel, your food, just about anything. Yes, I know there is a threat of nuclear war. It's all over the media, isn't it? But it's probably very unlikely. It's not an impossibility, but an unlikelihood. Hopefully, anyway. If a nuclear war happens, it doesn't matter what you got. You know, you can buy all the gas masks or respirators you need. You can buy all the NBC suits. They're not going to last so long. And it's not the initial fallout you've got to worry about. It's what comes after. Because even if you're the best prepared person in the world, you've got a couple of years worth of supplies of food, it's only going to last so long, isn't it? But the more realistic thing you've got to prepare for is, like I said, supply chain problems, the availability of goods, and the price of goods, price of fuel and food and whatnot. So how best to prepare for that is to make sure you've got a good supply at home, isn't it? Always make sure you've got a rolling stock of good supply of non-perishable foods, water, medical supplies, all that sort of good stuff, together with backup systems for your energy. Now, with all these 5 threats or these 5 scenarios, events, disasters, whatever you want to call them, they also have the added threat of civil unrest, don't they? Whether it's a cyber attack or a natural disaster, war, there's a possibility of a breakdown in society as a result. This can lead to riots, looting, and violence, can't it? So how do you prepare for it? So preparing for civil unrest or civil breakdown or society collapse from any one of them 5 realistic disasters. This involves securing your home, having self-defense skills and tools at hand, and be able to bug out if necessary, if you can't secure your location. Just think supplies, security, bug out plan, communications, and community. Well, there we have it, folks. There's my 5 top most likely events to prepare for. And just remember, being prepared doesn't mean living in fear, but rather taking proactive steps to ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and your loved ones for any uncertain times. So there we are, guys. Thanks for watching. Apologies, it's not a campfire talk as per usual in the parachute, but the weather's too rough at the moment. If you haven't done so already, please think about liking, subscribing, hit the notification bell. If you want to see some more videos, check that one out. And that one. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you again next time. All the best.